You're watching the Retirement Halftime Show. I'm your host, Alexander Joyce, and with me today is Angie Paisley. She is director of our Medicare division, if you will, and also really oversees operations from processing. So more than one role, but really does both very well. Right, I appreciate that. Really, we're talking about the topic of Medicare today because it is so crucial. You know, our practice, of course, is holistic. We pay attention to all pieces of the overall financial planning puzzle. In my professional opinion, Medicare is one of them, right? And I think it's a big piece of putting together those complexities, if you would. And so for our audience, our listeners, they've seen you before. Let's really just kind of go over the most common, if you will, oversights from a Medicare perspective. What are the things that, in your opinion, when it comes to Medicare, what are things that people they commonly miss, oversee, and just they need to know, if you will?
Yeah, Alex, one of the biggest ones is not signing up on time. That's a very, very confusing situation for many people because there's a lot of different rules. Everyone has an initial enrollment period. We've talked about that before. You get a 7-month window, date of birth, month of birth, 3 months prior, 3 months after. But a lot of people who are still working think that it's no problem to defer their Medicare because they still have credible coverage with their job. Sometimes it's not a problem, but it's really important that you find out what is best for you. There's certain things that come into play. During your initial enrollment period, you have guaranteed issue. So if you defer it, you might miss that opportunity to get that guaranteed issue. That's one common important fact.
Guaranteed issue means from medical conditions. Doesn't mean, because I think when I'm sitting with a client and they have this gap is like, they are 62 or 64, and they're getting ready to become Medicare Part A eligible. And so they think they really don't have to do anything. It's just automatically, boom, they're put on Medicare Part A, right? But there's something there that they still must do, even though they're employed by their job, right? And they have medical coverage, major medical through the employer. Is there something they need to do?
Yeah, it is a common misconception that everyone is automatically enrolled. I hear that a lot. That does not happen for everyone. Some people need to take that first step and get enrolled for A, or it's not going to happen. B, you have to typically go enroll yourself. That's the one that you can defer, and if you are working, you have that coverage, but you really just want to kind of outweigh your options and see what the best situation for you is. That's why it's so important that you're talking to someone who is a licensed agent.
It is important. I think it's it's something that's I think most people, and it's interesting because, as you just mentioned, some people are automatically enrolled, some people aren't. And so the big thing is, like, which side am I on?
Yeah, and that's where it really gets tricky. It's not a one-stop shop. It's different for everyone.
And then I think the Part A, Part B, I know we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail, but, Part A, just basic, simplistic terms is what?
That is your hospital insurance.
Part B?
Your medical insurance.
And then the Medigap?
That covers everything, things that aren't covered by Medicare.
Part A, Part B, right?
Right.
So that's the gap. And I think, right, and then you started getting into the supplements like Part N, used to be Part F was the best, or the Cadillac. And then you got like all these Gs, and understanding that they are the same plan, but the carrier, if you will, can offer different prices, and that makes it even more confusing.
It does. The way that we like to compare it, it's like gas. It doesn't matter if you're going to Speedway or you're going to Shell, you're putting the same product in your vehicle. Here's where your difference is: overhead. Yeah, when you call customer service, are you going to get a group of 500 people and you're going to get an immediate answer? Or maybe a group of 5 and you're going to sit on hold for an hour?
There you go.
And that's what it all is.
Absolutely. When it comes down to it, having someone like you in our office that can educate and guide our people, our clients, through this difficult time, because, if not done appropriately or correctly, the big thing is cost, taxation, penalties.
Definitely.
Right? I mean, these are things that we'd rather do right the first time than go back and try to correct something, because it becomes very problematic. And it becomes very, just challenging, if you will.
Let's do it. We're dealing with the federal government. Sometimes there's not corrections. Sometimes it's a one and done.
I won't go down that road, right? The federal government. So, Angie, I really appreciate it.
Of course.
If there's more education anybody wants to know about Medicare, whether it be Medicare or Medigap or Part A or Part B, pick up the phone. Don't hesitate to take that leap of faith. Stay tuned, folks. You're watching the Retirement Halftime Show. We'll be right back.